One of the best things we've seen at E3 is Anthem. But what exactly is it? Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx, everything you need to know about Anthem. So, Anthem is an action RPG, first/third-person shooter that has quite a bit of a Destiny vibe to it. However, it has a lot going on for itself. For instance, all the combat and action takes place in exosuits called javelins. But who are you? You're a freelancer, seemingly kind of a bounty hunter/explorer for hire in a sci-fi civilization that is actually vibrant and alive as you play the game. Beyond civilization, there is a landscape of ruin. Non-hostile activity takes place in Fort Tarsus, an enclave of humanity behind walls, seemingly to protect from the outside world. Right now we have a lot of possibilities regarding environment and story, so we're going to talk a little bit more about how the game is played, what systems are in place, etc, etc. First off, I mentioned Destiny, so is this a solo game? Is this a multiplayer game? What are we talking about? Now, you could play this like a single-player shooter if you really wanted to. Bearing in mind it is a shared world, you may encounter other players, but that doesn't mean you have to team up with them. In a Twitter exchange, the lead gameplay designer at Bioware, Corey Gasper, was asked if it would be single-player friendly, and he said yes, of course. The game is designed so you can join an amazing Bioware story and explore the incredible open world alone or with friends. Now, here's something that's very important to note. The action we saw was a little bit like Mass Effect in that it was a third-person game, but the hub area that we saw, like I said, sort of an enclave of humanity by the name of Fort Tarsus, was experienced in first person. In fact, the story elements we saw in first person. Now, we don't know if the hub perspective is forced, but I have to guess that you'll be able to switch back and forth. It is a Bioware game and they generally trend toward third person. However, it would seem a little bit odd if both perspectives are in the game and you're forced into one depending on what you're doing. It wouldn't be unheard of, but I sincerely doubt they would do it, especially in a game that seems as though it's meant to compete with Destiny, which is very much about what you want to do with the game, how you want to play it, so I don't see them forcing you into it. The director of the game, Jonathan Warner, said he wanted to emphasize that you can play it how you want. It is going to be a frictionless experience. So personally, I'm taking that as not only are you going to be able to customize your character a lot, but the actual way you play the game itself is probably going to be somewhat up to your whims. As a freelancer, you will venture into the world beyond the walls using an exosuit. These exosuits have different classes, will provide you with different abilities. When Bioware was talking about the game, they mentioned specifically that they were designed for different playstyles, but to go a step beyond that, if they do manage to make a nice variety of gameplay scenarios with a lot of diverse types of mission structures, it may end up being that you own multiple suits that you use for different purposes. The exosuit is equipped with a jetpack, which is seemingly how you get around. This is where what we've seen of the game, I think, diverges pretty significantly from Destiny, and because you're wearing an exosuit and have a jetpack, I'm slightly reminded of Titanfall, which doesn't bother me at all, and I have to imagine that's partially why they included the third person. I think some people obviously are going to want to play with the jetpack in a manner where they have a little bit more peripheral vision. As far as weapons go, we seem to have the obligatory assault rifles, but we do have some more interesting ideas in the equipable gear. For instance, in the demonstrated gameplay, we saw a heavy use of mortar. We also saw a really cool shell volley in which the player character locked onto multiple targets and just sort of unleashed holy hell upon them. It was a really effective tactic in defending against what was called a Scar ambush, and it yielded what seemed to be a power-up or a weapons drop. Basically looked like an orange diamond shape, which rewarded the players with a weapon called Jar's Wrath, which was a level 5 legendary Volt rifle. Now, this is the only actual official name, class, and information we have on a specific weapon. However, it does tell us quite a bit. For one, the weapons have levels, meaning there's probably some kind of upgrade tree or path, or perhaps modular upgrades that contribute to it. The implication is that you'll be able to hold onto a weapon for a long time, make it more powerful, and therefore more valuable. I'm going to infer that there is some sort of sub-economy based on this, and if there isn't one built in, people will make their own sub-economy based on this because there has to be some way to exchange weapons, and that's basically what gamers do, especially in a share world multiplayer game where there's a lot of people that are able to interface with each other. Now, we can't say for sure whether weapons will be able to be classed up. This is speculation based on what we saw in the video, as well as some stuff that director Jonathan Warner said, where he was talking about how guns and gunplay is very important, and that customization of the javelins and their gear is some of the more important aspects of the game. The game is open world. You do have your central hub, which kind of functions as a fort, as a base, as a safe zone where you don't have to bother with fighting. You can make your preparations, change things, upgrade things, and there's some indication that this area exists at a fairly high altitude. When the player leaves to enter the open world area, you essentially jump off what appears to be a large technological wall, activate your jetpack, and go down into the world below. People are calling this the dive, and Corey Gasper confirmed that it's going to be used for various different scenarios, for instance diving through enemy fire. But that was just him answering questions on Twitter. It's not super detailed, still sounds very cool. Now, you could go off into the open world without accepting a quest and still be dynamically assigned one while out in the world. They can dynamically appear if you're out exploring, which gives you more things to do, obviously. You get a prompt, and one has to make the assumption that the world itself is not quote-unquote all explored, meaning your map probably not complete, probably not going to show you everything, which gives you that sense of discovery, which is sort of a big necessity in a game like this, as well as a sense of danger, as it appears that animals are constantly roaming and are generally hostile, some more powerful than others, but there are enemy ambushes and probably a lot of random as well as scripted events between things that will progress the story as well as things that give you an opportunity to level up or grind. Oh, and are also hopefully fun, although I have to confess I'm not terribly worried about that. The gameplay shown looks very smooth, very responsive, very enjoyable. It appears to have a satisfying pace, and I particularly enjoyed the way the squad assembled, in that it appears people can just drop in, so if you have friends that you want to play with, they don't have to locate you, they just have to say, alright, I'm going to join this person's squad. And all of a sudden they fly in out of the air, land, and it looks really awesome, and on screen it says squad assembled, like you're some sort of elite team off into the unknown. Whether you're an individual or a squad, you're not just dealing with enemies and animals, there is also weather phenomenon. A massive storm was shown, and it frankly looked awesome. It reminded me of the wind segment in Gears of War a little bit in its visuals, but it seemed to play quite different from that area, and culminated in the squad having to fly into the center of a massive lightning storm. Jonathan Warner also said that story is still an emphasis. This is a Bioware game after all, although he did not confirm any types of details, and dodged a question on romances, laughing about it because they are a Bioware staple, but who knows. He also wouldn't answer when asked about PvP, emphasizing that humanity is not high on the food chain, and the exosuits are needed in order to even interface with the world itself, at least if we're talking about outside Fort Tarsus. They're characterizing the people who take these exosuits and go out and explore as heroes who are progressing humanity, so it's hard to say whether PvP would be a thing that actually integrates into the scenario. It's kind of more a collective push forward to take back the world for humanity, or at least appears to be, but in dodging the question, he didn't rule it out either. It may be a separate mode, we don't know. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and say this, I'm actually pretty excited for this game. It's got me in kind of hype mode, but there is one thing I wanted to point out that makes me just a little bit, perhaps whimsical for what could have been. It's the facial animation. This game has apparently been in development for about as long as Mass Effect Andromeda has, and it's not out and has significantly better facial animation than Mass Effect Andromeda. Just wondering why that is. That's obviously a very minor gripe, but there are people that aren't particularly happy about this, and I wanted to acknowledge it. But all in all, I think things are pretty positive for this game. It really looks phenomenal. Are you as into it as I am? What are you looking forward to the most about Anthem? Leave a comment, let us know, and if you enjoyed this video, please click like. If you're not subscribed, now would be a great time to do so. We are covering E3 this week, and one way or the other, we upload brand new videos every single day of the week. The best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription. As always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter @FalconTheHero, and we'll see you next time right here on gameranx.